And Sheriff.
I'm already through with my performance, so you can come now, Sheriff.
Okay, thanks.
I just strangled him in a
We can
picture.
call this meeting to order as soon as Commissioner Tillman stops talking. December 5th, 2023. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everyone. Officially December. Seems hard to believe already. We do have a quorum present with all 5 commissioners in attendance today. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review? If there are no corrections, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve the agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along, we have the county resident comments and concerns section of the agenda today. At this time, if there's anyone online or in the audience that would like to address the governing body on any issues, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the county resident comments and concerns and move right along into the consent agenda. Under tab A today, we have 6 items on the consent agenda, beginning with the approval of the November 21st, 2023 minutes, the approval of the EALs and commissioners report, approval of the bonds, approval of the December 5th, 2023 abate and rebates, a request to restaff 2 vacant positions in the detention center, and another request to restaff a vacant registered nurse position in the detention center. Commissioners, have you had a chance to review the consent agenda? Are there any questions? If not, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Tillman,
I would make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
do you have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Commissioner Tillman? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving right along into commissioner comments. We are ready 20 minutes ahead. And it looks like we're probably going to need it. Commissioner Tillman.
Yes, sir. November 29th, we had breakfast with the governor regarding the BLM resource management plan. And a good discussion. We had a mental health town hall meeting with the governor and quite a few citizens. And then we had a wraparound with the governor on mental health issues with County Attorney Danny Aramosby and Sheriff John Grossnickel. We had a great discussion, I thought, but maybe the sheriff can tell us a little bit more about that. But it seemed that we brought some issues to light, so that was great. And we brought Representative Larson from Lander was there, and he is heading up some legislation on mental health. Then we had lunch with the Western Wyoming Community College. I'm not sure the name of the program, but it was a power pole program, and the governor got suited up and tried to climb a pole. So that was a fun day. BLM Resource Management Plan, I attended that afternoon. The task force member, Jim Magagna, had 40 producers talking about the ag issues and went through each of the 4 alternatives. Temple Stollinger from UW Ruckelshaus was recording the comments on each of the 4 alternatives. UW Extension was helping to facilitate the meeting. It was a very productive meeting, and I hope the other task force members are having as much fun wading through the different alternatives and getting substantive comments. November 30th, I attended the Pulse meeting with industry leaders led by Fred Von Aaron and Mike McGrady. Again, the topic was a BLM resource management plan, task force updates, the new carbon innovation network by Petroleum Association. Pete Obermuller presented that. 1/4 of the world global capture is done by Exxon here in Wyoming. They are seeking ways to find carbon as a commodity and not just as a storage. They talked about soda ash and Southwest Wyoming Growth Initiative, the Business Education Partnership by School District 1 with their vocational academies, and School District number 2, Sweetwater 2 Ride Pilot Project. Profile of a graduate was presented by Fred Von Aaron. The next meeting will be on a legislative agenda on Wednesday, January 24th. December 1st, we had our federal partners meeting. Commissioner Richards and I attended that. BLM Rock Springs, Joanna Nera Klepper provided updates on projects happening in the BLM field office. The Jackalope wind scoping is about to come out. BLM Rollins office, Tim Novotny, said the Chula Green Hydro project had been withdrawn at Wamsutter, but there is a new Pacific Core transmission line proposed through Sweetwater County. It will be called Gateway D22. The Lander BLM, Darcy Nation, acting field manager, talked about international petroleum wells at South Green Mountain. They have received good well tests, and more APDs and right-of-way pipeline application will be forthcoming. They are expecting 12 to 24 more APDs in that area. The next partners meeting will be hosted by the Rock Springs Chamber of Commerce. It'll be a Zoom meeting the first Friday of the month at 9 a.m. The Forest Service Ranger, Brian Wilson, discussed the 2.7 million water system project at Buckboard, and they're proposing more group campsites. January 26th to 28th, the Burbot Bash. Supervisor Sue Eichhoff of the Ashley National Forest has transferred to another job, so they will be hiring a new person for that position, and she was great to work with, so we will miss her. The National Forest Foundation is going to fund a facilitator to do an EA, environmental assessment, for the marina, Buckboard Marina boundary and other issues. They're going to do an extensive public outreach process, and they commended elected officials for being so engaged and concerned with what's happening on their national lands, on their public lands. We had presentations by Trinity Lewis, Representative Hageman, State Lead. Wow, there are a lot of things that she is proposing to roll back some of the Biden initiatives. I'm not going to go through them all, but she said her website is hageman.house.gov/newsletter. Lindy Lynn from Senator Lummis, State Lead. Again, her website is lummis.senate.gov. And we asked her to have one of the DC staffers report at our January 5th meeting. Upcoming meetings this Thursday, we'll be meeting individually, some of us with Williams Company. The Enterprise Group meets at 7 a.m. at the hospital this Thursday. Conservation District meets at Golden Hour at 4 p.m. this Thursday. Airport Board is next Wednesday. And December 18th is the Bighorn Domestic Sheep Working Group, which I helped to found. That will be in Lander, but it's also our coalition of local governments meeting in Lyman. And I did present some information to the commissioners regarding the history of the coalition, which started in 2004. I would ask the commissioners to write a letter of support to some of our fellow commissions who are no longer members of the coalition, but who were at one time members of the coalition, and ask for their support in providing match money to defend this Rock Springs RMP. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. So you were going to write that letter of support?
You're the writer. I will
Well,
talk to you.
yeah, no, we'll get together on that. Run it past everyone. Appreciate the report. Any questions for Commissioner Toman? If not, we'll hand it over to Commissioner Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Excuse me. As anticipated, the holiday weekend was kind to me, and I haven't been too awfully busy since we last met. On the 27th, I attended the Combined Communications Board meeting, and I wanted to share a couple of statistics from what they do in a month. In October, they answered 1,311 911 calls. Their average answer time during that month was 3.8 seconds with a median of 4 seconds. And the calls lasted an average of 3 minutes and 1.4 seconds. Their goal is to answer 90% of their calls in less than 15 seconds, and they were able to meet that and actually answered 99.92% of their calls in under 15 seconds, with just one going over that at 18 seconds. 99.39% were answered in under 10 seconds. So great job to dispatchers, and we appreciate everything you guys do for Sweetwater County. On the 28th, I started the day with a meeting of the Recreation Facilities Committee where we discussed the state shooting sports facility and their request for a letter of interest from local communities. I left copies of that request in front of you. I think you'll agree with me that it's more than just a request of interest. As you all know, I've been actively attending the state task force meetings while they develop the process they're going to use to determine where the facility will be located. After a lot of consideration, my recommendation to our committee was to not continue to pursue the state complex. As I mentioned in my comments in our last meeting, I think the direction they have gone is simply unworkable for Sweetwater County. And I don't think there's any reasonable way that we could accommodate what they're looking for. Committee agreed, and we believe that it would be a waste of our resources to continue to pursue it at this time. I will continue to monitor their progress. So if the task force changes direction, or if anything changes that I believe would make it a more reasonable pursuit, I will for sure let all of you know. Later, I met with Land Use Director Bingham, as well as Deputy County Attorney DeLeon, SEDC Director McDonald, and Chairman West to get an update from Eric and John's work on the county's comments on the Rock Springs RMP, as well as to offer whatever support we could for Chairman West and Kayla's work on the governor's RMP task force. Every time I engage in a high-level discussion about the RMP, it's a reminder to me how much I don't understand it, but I continue to take more and more little bites at the apple and learn more and more. What is glaringly obvious, though, is that the more I learn, the scarier the BLM's vision for public land use in Sweetwater County becomes. And the more thankful I am that we have the expertise that we do in our land use department, as well as the outside resources that we have in order to address it. On the 29th, I enjoyed spending the morning with Governor Gordon, beginning with a breakfast with members of the Sweetwater County Republican Party, where we had another high-level discussion about the RMP, followed by a town hall meeting focused on mental health. I think that what I got out of that was a feeling that we have plenty of pretty solid programs in Sweetwater County to support addiction treatment, and that treatment court is a valuable investment in our community. But we have some real shortcomings when it comes to mental health treatment, and we have a lot of work to do on that front. In a more private meeting with the governor after the town hall, County Attorney Aaron Mosby and Sheriff Gross-Nickel had the opportunity to share some of the issues that they have with current statutes, procedures, and resources in dealing with the people they come into contact that are facing mental health issues. And I really appreciate their willingness to be there and make their problems with the current processes known. I also appreciate Governor Gordon's willingness to come here to Sweetwater County and hear from us directly. I know the lines of communication with his office are always open, but there's no substitute for having him here in person and seeing firsthand what's going on in our community. I sent him a message that evening thanking him for the visit with us, and he responded with a message the next morning asking if I'd be willing to serve on the Air Quality Advisory Board. Nothing is official yet, but it looks like I need to get educated on air quality issues. Just one more meeting, one more job. I appreciate the governor's confidence in me, but even more, I think it's extremely important that Sweetwater County takes every opportunity to be involved in every way possible at the state level. So I look forward to serving in any way I can. And besides, when the governor asks, you say yes. And as Chairman West pointed out, an advisory board has to be better than a task force. On the 30th, I attended the YWCA's Festival of Trees at Commerce Bank in Rock Springs to kick off the Christmas season. And as always, they did a great job, raised a lot of money to support the services that the YWCA provides in our community. On the 1st, I attended the federal partners meeting here at the courthouse, where we received updates from representatives from Ashley National Forest, Rawlins BLM District, the Lander BLM District, the Rock Springs BLM District, Representative Hageman's office, and Senator Lummis's office. District Ranger Brian Williams was happy to report that they have secured $2.7 million to upgrade the water system at Buckboard to benefit recreation users and the marina, and they are in the design process for that right now. They also plan to develop some group sites out there, as well as focus on expanding winter recreation opportunities in the area. Tim Novotny from the Rawlins BLM District relayed some bad news, and that is that it looks like the Sweetwater Green Hydrogen Project is withdrawing their application, so that project is likely dead in the water, but there is another transmission line project in the works. Trinity Lewis from Representative Hageman's office reported that 7 out of 12 of the appropriation bills have now passed the U.S. House, including the Interior bill that has 2 of her amendments attached, one of which would defund the BLM's enforcement of the Rock Springs RMP. I also joined Commissioner Slaughter that day in getting an update from Public Works Director Legursky on various public work issues, but I'll let Commissioner Slaughter elaborate on that if he's so inclined. On the 2nd, I joined Chairman West and Commissioner Jones and rode in a float at the Rock Springs Lighted Christmas Parade. Thank you, Deanna, JT, and Rick for organizing it, inviting us. And thanks especially to Jordan for being our chauffeur. It was a great time, even if several kids did mistake me for Santa Claus during the parade. Not my 7-year-old grandson, though. He said I was clearly an imposter. Looking forward, I'll be meeting with representatives from Williams Corps on the 7th to get an update on local projects. On the 12th, the Fair Board will meet. On the 13th, I plan to attend Planning and Zoning's meeting, but I plan to beg off the rest of that day's meetings because the 13th is also me and Teresa's 33rd anniversary. So I plan to spend as much of that day with her as I can. It looks like I have another combined communications meeting on the 18th, along with a library board meeting, unless something else comes up. That looks like all I have before I see you well back here again on the 19th. I think that's all I have for you today, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Appreciate your report. Congratulations on the 33 coming up. God bless Teresa. Any questions for Commissioner Richards in his report? If not, we'll hand it over to Commissioner Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My list seems a little short this time around, but not short if you figure the number of hours I've spent in the evenings reading the BLM RMP most nights, and also the Thanksgiving holiday. So on November 21st, after our commission meeting, I attended the BLM task force meeting regarding the charter for the group, amongst other topics. Also on the 21st, I held a meeting for the team I put together for the task force. Excuse me. Each of us voting members can have up to 3 members who can attend meetings and also sit in for me should I not be able to make a meeting and vote. My 3 are Mark Tesoro, Forrest Kaminga, and Pete Leiby. Great people, dedicated and very knowledgeable. I appreciate the 3 of them volunteering their time and helping me out. I have a variety of other people who've offered to help and give advice. I appreciate them as well. Certainly think it's important to surround yourself with people much wiser than I am. So that's what I'm planning on doing. I'd also like to thank Eric Bingham and John DeLeon for all of your work on the RMP. You guys are truly rock stars on this whole thing, and appreciate all the information you've shared with us. On November 29th, I attended a couple meetings with the governor, as was mentioned earlier, so I'll just say ditto on those. Also on the 29th, I attended the Memorial Hospital Sweetwater County Finance and Audit Committee meeting. There was a reimbursement, which they receive every year, but it's typically earlier in the year and it's before the audit. However, this year the reimbursement came in later, so it was not on the books for the audit. So they did have the auditor come back and explain everything. It was about $2.1 million that the hospital got reimbursed for. So that put days cash on hand up to 92. And another informational piece that they put in there was the patient navigation program saved about $500,000 in the month of November. On November 30th, attended the Pulse meeting. As was mentioned before, the BLM RMP was one of the topics covered. I won't go into great detail like Commissioner Tillman did. She can talk far better than I can, but there was one piece of information I thought was interesting that was brought up. 50% of graduating seniors have never held a job, so they have no idea what's expected of them when they go out into the workforce. So interesting. I didn't know the number would be that high, but on December 1st, my BLM RMP team and I answered interview questions regarding our thoughts and opinions on the RMP. Took about an hour and a half. Thought went real well. We'll see what comes of that in the first meeting. Also on December 1st was let's see, there was another meeting for the RMP, and on the evening of the 1st that reviewed the charter and all of the information that had gone on in previous meetings now was reviewed with our team members. So we had some meetings to have some meetings. On December 2nd, along with Commissioner Weston Richards, AKA Santa, rode in the Chamber Holiday Lighted Parade. Great time. Just thought I'd repeat that just for one last time. On the 4th, I attended the Star Transit meeting. That was last night. Mainly, they're still working on driver shortages and a plan to hire and train new employees. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any questions for Commissioner Jones's report? If not, looks like I'm up next. Unfortunately, mine's a little longer. On Tuesday, the 28th, spent all day in the courthouse meeting on various issues, beginning with the Recreation Facilities Committee that Commissioner Richards just spoke to. I covered that pretty well, so try not to be too repetitive there, but I also wanted to report my equal frustration with how that process was handled from the state. And basically, we don't want to tell you what to propose, but propose what you feel is best, and we'll tell you whether or not it's good enough. Seems like a bit of a wrong approach. There's $10 million available, and the idea of soliciting insight from those professionals within the industry to help prepare any guidelines or criteria for a request for proposal wasn't even considered. My take from watching the meetings that Island traveled around the state to attend is that essentially they have the money, but they don't really know how to hand that out. So it's a little bit disappointing with that process. And because of the minimal guidelines that they did offer, Sweetwater was almost immediately eliminated due to basically prohibiting any federal land ownership from the equation. Well, certainly we understand from our perspective some of the difficulties that the federal land management has presented us over the course of the last few months. I believe that's a separate subject, but I did want to thank Commissioner Richards for the various trips he made around the state, keeping up with that process in an attempt to pursue recreational opportunities for Sweetwater County. And the thanks but no thanks response won't be due to a lack of effort, and I can't emphasize that enough. Sounds like our committee will likely change our focus and identify other opportunities that may offer benefit to our constituencies. So thank you for your work on that, Commissioner. After that meeting, I met with Land Use Director Eric Bingham and Chief Civil Deputy Attorney John DeLeon to continue reviewing and working on the BLM's RMP. One of the first objectives from the governor's task force was to interview each task force member with a series of questions in an attempt to help provide a direction for the full day events that will be taking place in the weeks ahead. After a full morning of discussion and review, which Commissioner Richards joined us for, as well as Kayla McDonald from SCDC, who was also a member of the task force. That afternoon, we had our interview with myself and the advisors that I've selected to assist throughout the process, which included Eric, John, and Danielle Betancourt, who's our CLG attorney, as you all know. I remain a little bit uncertain on the direction of the task force and continue to have concerns with being able to accomplish a great deal in a matter of 2 full working days. But I guess we'll see what happens at the next meeting, which is on the 11th. Wednesday, the 29th was a busy one. That morning I had my monthly Board of Health meeting. I was only able to be there for the first little bit in order to make the Breakfast with the Governor event at 8 a.m. that morning. But a couple quick takeaways that I thought were worth sharing are that they recently changed their doing business as name. So they are the Sweetwater County District Board of Health, which won't change, but their doing business as name has always been Sweetwater County Community Nursing. Apparently there's been some confusion with that name and the Community Health Center. So staff felt changing their DBA name to Sweetwater County Public Health would help alleviate that confusion, while also more encompassing all of their services, which better includes the environmental health aspect of their organization. Community nursing and community health versus community health and public health. To me, they all sound the same, so I'm not sure what confusion that will eliminate, but there you have it. After the Board of Health meeting, I attended breakfast with the governor with you all to discuss the RMP and thank the Sweetwater GOP for helping coordinate. I then attended the Mental Health Town Hall and followed that with lunch and presentation from Wyoming's Innovation Partnership, which included touring Western Wyoming Community College's new Powerline program down at their workforce training facility. Several students showed off their skills in climbing power poles and even got the governor to suit up and give it a try, as Commissioner Toman already pointed out. After those events, I traveled to Southwest Counseling's Women and Parenting Facility with the governor and his team to tour that home and learn more about the services offered there. About $615,000 of the ARPA funds that Southwest Counseling applied for and was granted will be going towards that facility for various upgrades. Later that evening was the Southwest Counseling Mental Health Board's monthly meeting. Their board received a very educational presentation from Andy Somerville, who is the director of WAMSAC, the Wyoming Association of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Centers. Andy discussed the changes brought forth from the state's mental health redesign and helped us understand the different requirements with the tier 1, 2, and 3 categories, particularly on the funding processes involved. There was a wealth of information shared in this realm, a little too much to effectively communicate in a verbal report, but I would be happy to explain it in further detail to any of you if there's any interest. The short end of it is the state funding to these different centers will continue to retain the 40% base that they currently receive, and they will also continue to receive the 50% fee for services, which is through Medicaid, if I understood it properly. The biggest change is what they're calling the 10% outcomes, which will have different achievement requirements categorized into employment and education, housing, and treatment engagement. A lot more to the story with all of those, but essentially in order to receive the final 10% of funding, there will be a performance-based evaluation formulated on a 1 to 5 scale with different levels of reimbursement. Basically, there will no longer be a sliding fee scale. Tier 1 is the main priority, which has no financial qualifications and is defined as the Department of Corrections, Family and Children at Risk, or the Department of Family Services population, individuals in and out of state institutions, people at risk of Title 25, people at risk, and those within the state hospital or life resource center. The first year of these changes will be implemented on July 1st of 2024 as a pilot program. Roughly 900 individuals will be assessed as identified by different agencies based on population. And $4.6 million has been set aside for this 10% outcomes funding to be made available from the state for these different 1 to 5 scale reimbursements. That's a lot to take in, but it identifies a shift in the state's attempt to fill the gaps within the mental health crisis that I think many would agree is an attempt to improve the statistics that we all hate to share and read about. By the way, Andy did share that when she started as the director of WAMSAC, which was in 2018, there were 19 mental health centers throughout the state. Present day, there are currently 10. Plenty more to learn in this field, but I'll continue to keep you updated as I become more educated. I attended the Rock Springs Chambers lighted Christmas holiday parade on Saturday the 2nd with Commissioners Richards and Jones. We were escorted around by Rick Lee's daughter, Jordan, who kept us all nice and warm inside a vehicle donated by Whistler Chevrolet. A fun night with good attendance from a crowd strong enough to brave the cold. We tried to initiate Taylor into making him ride in the bed of the truck by himself as the newbie on board here, but he said he didn't want to gain all the attention, which caught us all by surprise. So just making sure you weren't sleeping there. I've had a handful of conversations with HR lately about the ability to provide some form of board training or orientation for the different boards we point to. Some organizations provide their own, but there are quite a few that have been reaching out lately who seem to have confusion on the function of the boards they serve on and how to access certain information to make their volunteerism more effective, especially those that don't have as many available resources as others. HR has been working with IT to develop some online or cloud-based options that would help with this, especially as board members come and go, by having a lot of this information hosted and backed up by the county, but made available to the different members and perhaps some of the staff to some degree to be able to add pertinent information as they see fit. There would be an annual licensing fee associated for each organization, but through Office 365, there are different base structures that could be made available for all the different boards, while also allowing for some customization within their own fields. Board agendas, minutes, financials, committee work, bylaws, things of that nature. They would also have Teams meeting capabilities for setting up any Zoom-like discussions or calls, and the ability to have emails amongst one another for board business. So Gary and his team, along with Tim's expertise, hope to have a presentation prepared for us during one of our January meetings. So there should be more to come on that, but just wanted to share so you can take that back to any of your liaison duties and commend them for their efforts for trying to help with that process. Just wanted to quickly mention, because we've given the day off for Friday, December 22nd this year, I wanted to point out a few timeline matters relative to setting the agenda for the first meeting in January. So as you all know, the deadline to submit the agenda items is for the meeting on January 2nd, is Monday, the 25th at 5 p.m., which is obviously Christmas. So we'll continue to accept any agenda items up until that point. But because the Friday before is the 22nd and is obviously a day off as well, it's going to make for a quick turnaround after our December 19th meeting. So if there's any department heads or elected officials that want to have their items included prior to Friday the 22nd, that's something to consider. Sally's going to be sending out an email as a reminder, but just something I wanted to give a little heads up on so people can start thinking about that moving forward. Aside from that, commissioners, wish we had a few more meetings to attend. It's been kind of boring lately, but it's hard to believe we've been sitting up here for almost a year. Very interesting business that makes this county tick, and it's a pleasure to learn more each day and each week, even during the challenging ones. So I appreciate working with you all, and I would stand for any questions. If not, Commissioner Slaughter, you're bringing up the rear.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. As you state, I'm bringing up the rear, and that falls into the trap of redundancy, which we've talked about many times. So many of the things that I will talk about, we've heard previously from, so I'll kind of hit them lightly. It was kind of a light 2 weeks between meetings for me. I celebrated the Thanksgiving Day holidays with my family. We had 31 people at my house for Thanksgiving dinner. That was interesting. The weather kept us pretty confined to the house the rest of the weekend. We played games, ate leftovers for the duration of the weekend, and just basically had fun. I spent the day of the 27th in my office catching up on email, phone calls, and having conversations with constituents. I was able to read through the documents that Eric Bingham sent us on the RSRMP and to further enlighten myself on the particulars of that plan. I also heard again from Tristine Pafer of Next Era Energy. They have got another liaison coming in to work within the community when we're trying to set up a meeting on it. I also heard from Williams on the issue that we heard previously from Commissioner Tolman on the meetings that they are setting up on their new construction that they are looking forward to. On the 29th, I also attended the governor's breakfast along with the other commissioners. It was nice to have the governor here in Sweetwater County. I would also like to thank the Sweetwater County Republican Party for the invitation and the opportunity to discuss Sweetwater County with the governor. I also attended the mental health town hall held by the governor and another smaller meeting, as was referenced previously, with the governor and other local elected officials that morning. On the 1st, I met with Public Works Director Legursky and Commissioner Richards to discuss the 50% review findings on County Road 1. Preliminary work has been completed, and we hope to have the final recommendations around the 1st of the year on that plan. We also discussed all things Public Works for the better part of an hour. I will be once again giving Gene's report following my comments. I then met with Land Use Director Eric Bingham to discuss the presentation he will be directing later today. It was very informative and displayed the effort that Eric has directed at breaking down the RMP and providing substantive comments on it. Eric, Deputy Attorney De Leon, and Daniel Betancourt have done an excellent job preparing information for us on the RMP. And that afternoon, I had a conversation with Justin Caudill and Lucy Pauley of the Department of Ag on the collaborative concept we've been pursuing. Commissioner Tolman had recommended that I talk with them about potentially using them to consult in the initial stages of setting up the collaborative. After talking with them, it became apparent that they would not be able to provide the consultation we had desired. They would be willing to facilitate our efforts and will be providing me additional information in the near future. I will continue working on the collaborative effort. Yesterday, I worked on preparation of my comments and the review of today's agenda. I will attend a Golden Hour Senior Center board meeting this afternoon. Tomorrow morning, I'm having a minor surgery and plan to work from home between this meeting and our December 19th meeting. Gene's Public Works report. Starting with buildings, the Night Oil Tool building's final design plans are under review. This project should be bid in January pending code review. The Rock Springs Youth Home project kicked off with a meeting with all of the involved parties. We had some great collaborations on various options and ways to solve the problem they are facing with rooms. We don't want to jinx ourselves, but all of the plows have been mounted on the trucks and salt has been stockpiled in the various buildings in preparation for winter. The maintenance crew handled 72 work order requests last month. On Road and Bridge, the Middle Marsh Creek Culvert project was finished just before the Thanksgiving holiday. He attached pictures of that in the email, which was sent to each of us. We'll have more pictures of the final installation in the spring once everything is seated. Crews are continuing to straighten and replace delineators and signs. County Road 6 OCI Road was re-signed with the upgraded speed limit and curve signs last week. Crews are continuing to haul material out to County Road number 3 North to fix soft spots that are developing in the road due to the recent oil field activity. Fracking has started on 2 wells and they have drilled another well with hopes of fracking it in January. Crews were able to set the temporary concrete barrier with an end treatment on County Road number 6, the OCI road, where the truck rolled on the guardrail. This concrete barrier was set for approximately 3.5 weeks until material and crews could get on site to install the new sections of guardrail and end treatments. In engineering, we're still catching up on a bunch of small projects and starting to plan all of next year's projects. We had our 50% review of the County Road McKinnon Road report and provided feedback to the engineering firm on changes and what else needs to be included in the report. The geotechnical exploration and ground penetrating radar was completed on County Road 15, 9 Mile Road, and County Road number 23 North, Wamsutter Crooks Gap Road last week in preparation for the design and analysis of these 2 roads as part of our Energy Roads project. And in custodial, the custodial crew is still hanging in there, being down staff members. Interviews went well last week and we should be back to a full staff by the end of the year. With that, Mr. Chairman, that's the end of my report and the end of Mr. Legursky's report.
Thanks, Commissioner. 31 people. That's a full house.
It's a full house.
Good luck with your surgery tomorrow. We'll be thinking about you. Any questions for Commissioner Slaughter's report?
Yes, may I ask him a question?
Commissioner Tom.
Are you gonna attend CLG Monday? 18th? It depends. I can talk to you later.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. It really depends on everything. And Monday, Mary, is the next specific purpose tax meeting at 3:30. I was hoping to attend it via Zoom, depending upon what takes place. So.
Any other comments, question? Nice work, commissioners, as always. We remain a little bit ahead of schedule, so that's good too. That concludes the commissioner comments section of the agenda. Some pretty wild pictures Gene sent with that report with those culverts. That's moving some water there. Moving right along on the agenda brings us to tab B, which is the action and presentation items portion of the agenda. First up, we do have County Treasurer Mark Cowan with us this morning to discuss the report on the outstanding warrants. Good morning, Treasurer.
Good morning, commissioners. Every year we have people who do not want our dirty, filthy, stinking money and refuse to cash the checks that we send them. So we are required to cancel those warrants, and that is what we're doing today. So per statute 18-4-106, these warrants will be canceled. The people have the right to come back before the commission and ask for these warrants to be reissued for up to 5 years.
Interesting. How does that work as far as, is there a timeline after X amount of months or something that?
The statute just says in December, we void the warrants that haven't been cashed. So,
Okay.
So that's the deal. And then they can come back in up to 5 years and ask for it to go again. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Any other questions, comments on the outstanding warrants, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
move to approve the cancellation of outstanding warrants as presented.
you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next up under tab B is item number 2. We've got Clerk Lane with us this morning to discuss amending the liquor license transfer that we approved last meeting. And good morning, Clerk Lane.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I did contact the state of Wyoming, and we had presented the liquor license transfer at the last meeting for the Eden Saloon and RV Park. And what we found out is that the retail liquor license does cover all three of the areas that are on here, the on-premise only, off-premise only, and the combination on and off-premise. However, they use that for internal control to see how many people. So they just approve the retail liquor license. So we just had to cross it off and resend it in with the combination package for that. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention since it was discussed last meeting and find out if we need to do an amendment or if we just needed to discuss it. So that's I'm asking John on that.
Okay, so you're seeing if you needed a motion to amend.
I think we do. We approved it last meeting as an on-premise only. whereas
Right.
This is amended to include combination both on and off, so it'd probably be cleanest just to go ahead and amend it.
That's what
as
I
such.
kind of thought, but I don't want to.
Yeah, we have discussed no need for any additional notice and an amendment. Why is the road to go?
Okay. I need a motion to amend the liquor license for the
Mr. Chairman,
Eden Saloon and RV Park.
I'll
Commissioner
make the
Richards.
motion to amend the liquor license application and approval to include combination on-off premise.
Got a
I would
motion,
second that.
motion to approve by Commissioner Richards. Nice catch on that, Commissioner. We do have a second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Next up under tab B, we've got item 3, which is a request of approval for the 2024 Aflac Group Master Application. I do not see Gary here, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit because the sheriff is here. Are you good? Are you waiting for Under Sheriff Talmadge? Okay. If you don't mind, we'll go ahead and pause on item number 3 and move ahead to item number 4, which is the approval of the detention center food services contract and food service employee separation benefits. Do we have the sheriff here in attendance today? It looks like Gary's on this one too, but. Any questions on the detention center food services contract, commissioners?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I did suggest that we have a commissioner's luncheon there.
Already running the cost up, it sounds like.
Yeah. I'm sure she wouldn't buy either.
No, I'm sure.
Oh, I'd buy it. It's not that expensive.
Any comments on that? Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman, do you want to wait for Gary to get here so he can explain the
Yeah, we
insurance?
can do that. We'll, looks like Christina's here. If we can skip ahead, you good with that, Christina? So we'll pause on item 3 and 4 under tab B. And move along to item number 5, which is the approval of the first responder and law enforcement mental health support grant contract. Got Christina Marshall with us this morning, County Grants Manager, as well as Sheriff Grosnick. Morning, Christina.
Good morning. Sorry, recovering from getting sick, like everyone here, so not contagious though anymore. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Sweetwater County was awarded $29,235 from the Wyoming Department of Health Behavioral Health Division. The project requires no cash match and expires on June 30th, 2027. Long ways out. The funding originates from the 2022 Wyoming Senate Enrolled File Act number 20, which is American Rescue Plan Act Recovery Fund appropriations to the state of Wyoming. So the purpose of this grant funding is to deliver and improve access to mental health services for first responders and law enforcement officers. The funding will be used to improve the long-term wellness and behavioral health of Sweetwater County first responders and law enforcement families during and after their careers by expanding and adding local capacity for mental health services, as well as developing a holistic mental health and wellness program for long-term impacts. I just want to emphasize when we say after their careers, that's into retirement, not just during their careers. So the project budget covers 3 fiscal years, which is pretty exciting in the grant world. So the first area that it'll be used on would be ongoing peer support education. Next, couples relationship support and education. Then third, family support and psychoeducation. Fourth, ride-along sessions, which is already included. So that's why you don't see a dollar amount. And then accelerated resolution therapy training for peers. So the annual budget is basically $9,745 per year. So the target population of this trial project is deputies, peace officers, search and rescue personnel, dive team members, emergency management staff, and the bomb squad. And just so you know, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Service estimates that 30% of first responders develop behavioral health conditions. So of course, I have the sheriff here with me who has been working very hard on mental health wellness and wanted to see if he'd like to add something.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question. Where are you going to get the services from? Are you going to hire someone to provide that? Or are you going to use existing?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Toman, we're going to be using a local provider in Rock Springs. We've already reached out and have a plan going on with that.
Very good. Was that all you had, Christina?
No.
Okay. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no. That's the end of this presentation. I have
Okay.
2 more to go. And with that, any questions?
Any other questions on this grant contract, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that we do a lot of grants, but this one actually doing a lot of the research for the application, it was astounding to read the data, the examples of mental health situations. And I was very happy to work on this for the sheriff's office. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the first responder and law enforcement mental health support grant contract and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents.
You have a motion to approve by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second?
I would be happy to second that.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Should we keep going? Your voice handle it?
Yeah, sure, I got my special water. No.
Sounds good. Next is item number 6, ratify and approve the 2024 Community Service Block Grant Contract, and we'll hand it back to Christina.
Okay, the second agenda item I have, the Wyoming Department of Health awarded Sweetwater County $239,091 in community services block grant funding for projects that were recommended by the tripartite board, which is an advisory board. The term to expend the funding is October 26th, 2023 to September 30th, 2024, and this requires no cash match. The purpose of the funding is to empower low-income individuals to overcome the effects of poverty and support their progress towards self-sufficiency. Eligible clients must be at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. The funding will be passed through to agencies who will implement activities that work towards this goal. Just so you know, Sweetwater County data shows that there is a current poverty rate of 9.2% in Sweetwater County. The 3 agencies being awarded funding would be Rock Springs Young at Heart for 2 programs. First, to provide homemaker and CNA services to elderly and disabled individuals. Next, provide meals and special diet food to elderly and disabled individuals. The combined total for them would be $59,420. The second agency is Sweetwater Family Resource Center. They would provide housing assistance, including emergency rent and utilities for $100,000. And finally, the YWCA of Sweetwater County for 2 programs. That is to provide childcare services while parents are working, seeking employment, or attending school, and also to provide rent, deposit payments, and utility payments to victims of domestic violence through the Center of Families and Children. That combined total is $54,000. And finally, there are some administrative type expenses, including insurance for the board members, as well as advertising, dues, travel, training, and conferences for $25,671. So a couple notes. The chairman graciously signed this primary contract on that odd date or earlier in October. Normally, this grant would start October 1. Due to issues at the state level, the executed date is October 26th, but I appreciated the chairman dropping everything to get the county side signed. So that is why you are ratifying the main contract. And then I'm pleased to confirm Commissioner Slaughter is the current county commission appointed to the Sweetwater County Tripartite Board. No, take their picture, not mine. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Christina. Very detailed as usual. Any questions for this ratification, commissioners? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to ratify the 2024 Community Services Block Grant Contract and approve and authorize the chairman to sign the contracts with Rock Springs Young at Heart, Sweetwater Family Resource Center, and the YWCA of Sweetwater County.
As liaison, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Slaughter. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. The final item for Christina's portion is item number 7 under tab B. We've got the approval of addendum number 1 to the fiscal year 2024 capital projects list for Core County, which includes Christina and Jean Legursky, the County Public Works Director, and we'll hand it back.
Okay, last. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, back on June 22nd, 2023, the board approved the fiscal year 24 budget that included $8,139,123 for Core County capital projects that included debt service and equipment over $10,000. This amount represented the itemized projects from groups 1 and 2 on the master list of ranked capital projects as recommended by the committee. This is the ranking sheet, which is attached. Recently, the capital committee met and reviewed the status of the fiscal year 24 capital projects. It identified underruns in 5 projects that are now closed. The committee recommends using part of that available balance to fund 4 more projects from the ranked capital projects master list for $80,995. So in your packet, I've provided you a summary of the projects that are closed with the underruns, and the number on that table that corresponds to the officially approved list of projects in your packet that for fiscal year 24, all capital. And then you have the proposed projects to move that $80,995 to. So those 4 projects would be under ranking category 3, projects number 2, 4, and 5. That would be for facilities parks for a skeet upgrade to trap set up number 9. Next, it would be for land use to get a copier. And the third project and the ranking number 3 would be for road and bridge for a copier. And then the last project is from the ranking list 6, number 3, which would be to replace 5 trap machines. So that combined total is $80,995. So some final notes on my end. The county commission must authorize projects to be added to that fiscal year 24 capital list, which is a policy you all approved on July 18th, 2023. And approval of this request will reduce cash carryover at the end of the year, but on the same side, on the other flip side, it will enable more projects to get completed and possibly avoid increasing prices and inflation. The capital committee does not recommend reallocating the entire forfeited balance on this list of $180,337.10 in case of underruns on existing projects that were already approved and can be transferred to other projects. This topic was discussed at the last meeting, November 21st, 2023, and there's no form to sign. I do have Gene Ligursky here, Public Works Director. I know a commissioner yesterday had a question about some of the forfeited monies. Would you like me to call him up in case you do have some questions or not?
Yes, if I may.
Okay.
Sounds like he's getting the hot seat.
Jane, I had questions.
Mhm.
On item number 3, the courthouse security upgrades.
Yes,
It seemed that there were 21,000 in there. Could we use any of that to, well, first of all, what was that money for?
for the wall between your guys' office and the clerk's office
Protect 4 out of the 5 commissioners.
to protect all the important commissioners.
The important commissioners.
Oh, sorry. Not the chairman. He's on his own.
Well, could you remove that wall? No, the other item is, can we use some of that money to make a exit ramp or something out of here?
Yeah. The hard part about that is cutting through the wall and everything like that. That wall is hollow. We found that out when we installed that door over there. And in order to do that in a timely manner, this time of the year is impossible. ACOR actually has to come up from Salt Lake and install everything in there and do that. And then the other portion that we have is we have to get it cleared by fire and to make sure that everything lands correctly and everything out there. So I haven't done it, but yeah, we can look into that. It'll be in the summer, though. It won't be
Mr.
anytime
Chairman.
soon.
I think that's a worthy project. But I think it's something that can wait until our next capital list. Put it on our radar. As I sitting here as far away from that door as I am, I know before we sat here, there was a security risk at one point in time. And the only way for for us commissioners to get away from a security risk coming in that door is to run towards that door. And I would sure like to see an emergency exit.
Yeah,
And
the other thing that we're gonna have, if I may, is the elevation change between where you guys are sitting and the opening the egress door for the other participants. We're gonna have to look at all that. So we'll see if that's possible.
You notice which door he sat next to when he came in today.
No, that's because of the camera. The other part of that security upgrade is there actually is supposed to be a door between Sally's office and the back hallway, going into that so everybody can communicate and do that kind of stuff. But with that wall being hollow, literally hollow, it's block, hollow, and then the rest of the building, it makes it a little bit tough to do stuff.
Oh, because it was an outside wall.
Not that that was the outside wall. It was just there's a void space in there about 8 inches. That's really strange. No insulation, no anything.
Hmm.
Yeah, those all can be looked at.
Are the locks, you were gonna do upgrades on the locks so you could hit a switch and lock things up, or is that? been
No,
done?
that's not, well, the locks are the existing outside doors. Right now, we have 3 different lock and key systems for all the buildings. Some of them have to be programmed remotely. Some of them can be programmed over a computer. Some of them we have to go and visit every single lock and actually stick a data collector in there and download the program. So in order to be able to lock down the buildings, we're doing that. We're supposed to meet either Thursday or Friday on that. With the committee, we finally got the RFP out and stuff like that, and we're gonna review it and put that out to bid. And that's a different project
Yeah.
on this list.
Any other questions?
Well, understood there was also a security code. I mean, is there something you can send us later or IT can send us an emergency code that we can type in our phone or if there's a threat?
Yeah, everybody should have that on their
No.
phone.
We don't have that.
Okay, yeah, we can get that to everybody.
We'll have to talk to our IT liaison about that, but
I'm talking about it right now. I'm just putting it out there. Oh, well, I was told the emergency management meeting that we had that, but we don't.
Yeah, we do.
Some of
There's
us don't
actually a
have that.
panic button key that you push in there.
oh,
Well, Keaton especially needs it in case I threaten him, or anything like that.
well, I don't have a security wall, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Hey, Gene, on this list, I think I understood it properly. I know what started a lot of this conversation was the roofing project that we met with
Mhm.
events complex staff about. Is that what, because I know this amendment is the capital list for the core county, but
Correct.
in the event that there's underruns, basically allowing that those funds can be transferred with committee consensus, is that what's capturing that portion of
It-
that?
Well, that's for core county.
Okay.
Non-core county is separate. However, that we know that they're gonna need some extra money, we think. Since that project's not going until April, we didn't know exactly what to transfer or anything
Okay.
like that, or if they're gonna underrun some projects underneath their component unit capital to see if we could transfer to that. So we just let it sit for right now,
Got it.
with the understanding that there will be some money of transfer. We just don't know where from.
Very good. Appreciate the clarification. Any other questions for Gene or Christina on the capital projects addendum, commissioners?
Thank you.
Chairman,
Commissioner Richards,
move to approve addendum number 1 to the fiscal year 2024 capital projects list for Core County.
do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
I would second.
Second by Commissioner Toman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Thanks, Christina. Appreciate it. Looks like that was everything, right? Got you captured?
Yes, and just for clarification, there has been no policy regarding the component unit, so any capital transfer would require your direction.
Okay.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
Okay.
Lots of moving pieces with that, but it sure is nice to have that organized into a list. So appreciate your work on that. We will go back under tab B. We left off items 3 and 4, commissioners. So we'll go back to item 3, which is the request of the approval of the 2024 Aflac Group Master Application. Got Mr. McLean with us here, County HR Director. Good morning, Gary.
Morning, County Commissioners, Mr. Chairman. Before you is the 2024 Aflac Group Master Application. The county's had voluntary benefits available under group plan with Aflac since maybe 2012. We had about 64 individuals that had signed up during the recent open enrollment. That number has grown, I think, to about 111 across the plan. That's not county, but all the component units in the county. So it's well used. The new master contract is beneficial in that if you can believe it in this world, the benefits are better, richer, and the prices have gone down. And so this application really just is a master application that requires the chairman to sign and updates our group policy with Aflac. Just for everybody's edification, these are voluntary products, so employees can choose them if they want and pay them with payroll deductions. There, as I said, there's about 66 during this last open enrollment county employees, and 55 from the component units that have signed up for these products. So that's about it. We do this periodically when there's significant changes to the to the offerings. And with that, I'll entertain any questions from the board.
Anytime there's a reduction in fees, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, you don't see that too often when you can increase. They're actually richer benefits for the employee and the premiums have gone down. So you won't see that very often.
Any questions for Mr. McLean on this master application, commissioners? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Tillman,
I would make that motion.
you have a motion to approve the 2024 Aflac Group master application by Commissioner Tillman. Do we have a second?
And authorize the chairman to sign.
And authorize the chairman to sign.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Moving back to item number 4 under tab B, we've got the approval of the detention center food services contract and the food service employee separation benefits. With us again is Sheriff Grosnickle, Under Sheriff Tomich, and Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. You've had a chance to look at the proposal. The food service delivery, as you might imagine, in the detention center has been a significant challenge from the day that it opened to today. Whether that's food contracts or staffing levels or qualified food preparation personnel or what have you. The Sheriff's Department has recently engaged with Summit Foods, a contract to basically deliver the required nutrition and meals to inmates in the facility. And as part of that contract, the existing staff have an opportunity to go to work for Summit Foods. There's 4 people that we currently have. Those 4 folks have all acknowledged that they intend to do that. The Summit Foods contract acknowledges that the benefits are different. They've tried to equalize those as much as they can by increasing the hourly rate and to keep those as similar as they can. Obviously, they're not eligible for Wyoming retirement or those things, but they have tried to equalize those as much as they can. One of the areas where there's a deficiency is that the contract is to start in January. Their current health insurance for those 4 employees would be paid on our end through the month of January. They would not start with Summit Foods benefit program until March, leaving February as a gap. In consideration of that, what's proposed here and what's being requested of the board is to cover that 1 month for the 4 employees, as indicated, for their COBRA premiums for the month of February to ensure continuous health insurance coverage. As I'm sure you're aware, if you have gaps in insurance coverage or pre-existing conditions, those can be costly or can be refused to be covered if there are gaps in coverage. I don't think anybody wants that. The benefits of the program to Summit, specifically their volume buying discounts, the reduction of food waste, and the long-term cost savings to the county, I think make the approximately $7,000 premium COBRA premiums for the month of February for those employees a well-spent investment. So essentially what's being requested of the board are 2 specific items. One is approval of the Summit Food Services contract, and the sheriff and Under Sheriff Tomich are here if we want to discuss any more of that in detail. And if that's approved, then we would respectfully request the board to cover the
premiums for those four affected employees for the month of February, an amount of $7,028. So as indicated in the memo to the board.
Thanks, Gary. Any questions on either of these items, commissioners? Think, to Sheriff Grossnickel's credit, he's always looking for ways to improve services and, reduce the burden on the county from a financial perspective. This one obviously, can be a little bit touchy when there's employees involved, but something worth noting is, because some of the benefits that Mr. McLean spoke to and the difference with Weimar retirement and such, the sheriff and his staff, identified the importance of that and wanted to make that right for the employees. And so they went back and negotiated a higher rate to make that comparable for those four individuals, which I think helps with this. I think the feedback was good in that regard from those employees. And with that, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head of what this contract service saves, but it was around 300,000 or so, I think, a year. And so, anyway, I commend him for that and looking for ways to save the county money and also trying to make it right for those employees that have put in time. So I
Mr.
guess,
Chairman, just for clarification, the annual loaded employment costs roughly for those four positions is roughly $230,000 just for that alone. So that's no other expense.
any other comments or questions? I think first we'll start with the approval of the detention center food services contract as presented. What's your pleasure on that, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve and move to approve the contract between Summit Food Service and Sweetwater County and allow the chairman to sign, or the sheriff, whichever one has to do it.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Richards? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next item is the food service employee separation benefits that Mr. McLean just discussed. It's in your packet. The request is to cover the COBRA premium cost for 1 month during the gap in service, basically for February, the amount of $7,059.74. Any discussion on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
I'm happy to see that all four employees are going to take advantage of continued employment through Summit, and that the sheriff was able to negotiate good wages for those folks going forward. I'm confident that it's going to work out well, and I think this $7,000 and change is a good investment in taking care of our current employees who are going to be Summit's employees.
Yeah, well said. Any other comments, commissioners? If not, entertain a motion to approve the food service employee separation benefits as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you,
Gary. Thanks,
Commissioners.
Sheriff.
I'm sure the sheriff will be hosting lunch at the detention once they're on board. So make sure to put that on your calendar.
That'll be the day Mary buys. Thanks, gentlemen. Looks like next is a break, commissioners. We are about 20 minutes ahead of schedule here. So why don't we go ahead and take about a 10-minute break. We'll resume at 10:25. Call this meeting back to order. We left off under tab B, item number 9, which is an easement with Jarvie Ranch LLC for a portion of County Road 13 on Washam Road. We've got Andy Hooton with us this morning, the Assistant Public Works Director, and good morning, Andy.
Morning, Chairman West, Commissioners. What we have before you today is an easement. If any of you are familiar with Washam, this county road has been in existence for a long time, has been used as a county road for a long time. In working with the landowners, we decided it might be best to just kind of get something formalized on the books. So first and foremost, I would like to thank Carol and Raymond for their help on this. They've been great to work with down there and just all around great people to do with. So anyways, how this originally started was they are discussing potentially doing a subdivision. Question about the road right away was asked. Originally, the road actually would have gone across the flats and over to Linwood. And then at some point in time, this road was kind of established. So this is good for them, good for us, good for all involved. You'll see that they have already executed the document. And so now it is just ready for your signatures to proceed. So I'll answer any questions you have on this.
Thanks, Andy. Any questions on the easement, Commissioners?
How long is the road?
Washam Road itself would be, I want to say about 14 miles where it ties into 414 and then comes all the way around to State Line Dam or State Line Road. I apologize. But the easement itself is
Yeah, it doesn't look very big.
not more
1,586
than,
feet.
yeah, not more than 438 feet on one side.
Thank you.
So it's just through there. We have documentation on the rest of it, but for some reason, through that tract 39, it was just never documented. So this is a way to formalize it for them and formalize it for us.
Any other questions, Commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the easement for a portion of County Road 13, Washam Road, and allow the chairman and board to sign all necessary documents.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to approve the easement for a portion of County Road 13, Washam Road, and allow the chairman and board to sign all necessary documents.
Do you have a motion to approve by Commissioner Toman? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Thank you.
There were
Thanks,
no
Andy.
objections to it, were there? There were no objections to it, were there?
To the easement?
Yeah.
No, worked hand in hand with Carol and Raymond. Worked a little bit on the language. They were very happy. They're doing this. They came to us, so it's a win-win for all the parties.
Thank you.
Always makes it nice. Next under tab B is item 10. We've got the resolution to vacate a publicly dedicated alleyway within block 18 of the Jamestown plat. Back with us this morning is Mr. Legursky, Public Works Director. Welcome back, Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It seems like this is Groundhog Day again. We've been talking about this a lot, but it's the public process. It's laid out in state statute. So what you have before you is the final step in vacating the publicly dedicated alleyway within block 18 of Jamestown. There is 3 documents that will be associated with this. The very first one will be of course, resolution. I guess there's 4 documents. The very first one, though, that is a public utility easement. The reason for that is there is when we did locates out there, there is actually utility easement. So they're actually, when we vacate this, we still wanted to make sure all the public utilities are protected within that area. So we're going to dedicate them a public utility easement through that. And then the next 2 documentation is by state statute, whenever the county vacates a portion of a road, alleyway, or whatever, it gets evenly split down the middle between the 2 property owners. Both sides of this property are owned by the Kale and Yvonne Jasperson Trust. But however, in keeping with the state statute, and 50 years from now, everybody wondering what Gene Legursky did, we made sure that we actually wrote 2 deeds so it looks like exactly how the state statute reads. I will have if you guys approve of this, I will have the chairman sign once they're executed by the trust. However, I ask that the public utility easement does not need to be executed by anybody other than the board. So I asked for that also along with the resolution. We went through the public process. There was no questions, comments, concerns, or negative comments, I guess, about this.
Okay. Thanks, Gene. Any questions on this resolution and all the associated documents, commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution and allow the chairman and board to sign all the necessary documents, which include the resolution, public utility easement, both quitclaim deeds as they're executed.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. I was allowing time for my clicker over there. Next under tab B is item number 11, resolution for notice of intent to vacate a publicly dedicated roadway and alleyway. And we'll hand it back to Gene.
What this is, Mr. Chairman, is the second phase of this. The one that we did just for, it said for Kale. This one's a step behind this one. So we're not getting confused on anything. It's just the process that we're going through. What this is a resolution for notice to intent to vacate. So if you guys want to go further on with this process, we need to do a notice of intent to vacate. What this allows us to do is go out and advertise this, post the notification, and send out all the certified letters to everybody that has interest in this, which means anybody that signed the resolution and anybody that is adjacent to the property will get a notice from us saying, hey, this is what's going on. If you have comments, there is a deadline in there. It's in January that you have to, January 8th, that you have to file a complaint with the clerk, the county clerk. So that's what this is. This is a little bit different than Mr. Jasperson's in that it involves a portion of a county road and then a little sliver piece of an alley that was behind there that was given away. We're trying to clean up stuff. If we vacate if you guys choose to vacate the road, we'd like to vacate that little sliver portion of the alley to make sure everything's clean.
Questions on this resolution of intent, commissioners? This was the viewer report that Andy prepared for us a couple weeks ago. Very detailed. Appreciate your work on that. Any clarifications?
I'd also like to thank Andy for taking the time to take me out there to show me physically what it looked like on the ground. Appreciate your time.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Richards.
move to approve resolution number 23-12-EN-02, resolution for notice of intent to vacate a publicly dedicated roadway and alleyway.
You have a motion to approve resolution 23-12-EN-02 by Commissioner Richards. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Slaughter. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous. Next under tab B is item 12. Thanks, Andy. We've got a lease agreement between Southwest Wyoming Pregnancy Resource Center doing business as Inside Connections in Sweetwater County for a portion of 731 C Street. And we'll hand it back to Gene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you have before you is a commercial lease agreement for Southwest Wyoming Pregnancy Resource Center doing business Inside Connections in Sweetwater County for I call it the eastern third of the second floor, or the eastern half of the second floor of the old C Street building, the old hospital up there. They would like to expand some of their services into that portion of the building and take up some other rooms and offer some other services. And they are currently, just so everybody knows, they are currently leasing the the old nurses' quarters from us. If you guys remember, we've been around long enough time, the haunted house. I mean, everything like that was up there. Very good neighbors. They clean up after themselves. The nice thing about that is having people up there around keeps the mischief down a little bit. To be honest with you, the people that are parking up there and stuff like that stay away from the building. When we didn't have anybody up there for about 4 years, we were constantly chasing, and Sheriff Grossnickel was having to go up there and tag vehicles and do stuff like that. So a little bit of action up there makes for good neighbors. So that's all I have. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that. Gene, any questions on the lease agreement?
Yes.
Commissioner
I
Thomas.
understood we don't have to do any improvements or anything. They're gonna do what they want to do.
Correct. The only improvement, and they're not even improvements we have to do, is we recycled a couple of the Genetec locks for use in other buildings, because we didn't think we are gonna be there, so we're gonna have to put 2 new Genetec locks in there. And be able to lock the doors because they're not using the first floor, they're using the second floor, so we want to make sure they can't access any other part of the building.
And they're still continuing to rent, is it building?
The nurse's quarter building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on the lease agreement? Hearing none, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion to approve the lease agreement and allow the chairman to sign all documentation.
You have a motion to approve by Commissioner Toman. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Richards. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion's unanimous.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Commissioners, we're an hour ahead of schedule. What we have is quarterly ambulance update, which is set for 11:40, and then we have discussion on the RMP. Is anyone hungry? We could do an early lunch and try and come back around noon,
Brunch?
brunch.
You don't think Commissioner Toman could fill an hour?
She easily could fill an hour, yes.
Thank you. You're so thoughtful. Yeah, considerate they are of me.
We could try and get a hold of Castle Rock.
Mr. Chairman, I say we take an early lunch and come back. I'm sure Eric will be available whenever we need him to be.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a lunch break now. Generally takes about an hour, so that might put us right in line. So we will resume accordingly. That one.